So on to the body stuff. This is where we're starting to get into the energy and like at that level. So everything so far has been very cognitive, right? And linguistic, because for most people, we're all very comfortable at that level, right? So to start this off, the body traps energy like a battery, but it rarely discharges. But really, I was thinking about it and I came up with this metaphor. It's kind of like a banana with brown spots, right? If you think about the trapped energy like the brown spots on a banana, they're all different sizes and they're all everywhere. It's not like any one place has like all the energy, right? It's your body is massive compared to the size of a photon or an electron, right? And they can bunch up literally everywhere throughout your body. A lot of it is the muscle tissue, like the soft tissue, right? Not bones necessarily, maybe, but I don't know. But a lot of the soft tissue, and the soft tissue is freaking everywhere, right? Especially the fascia, which is super thin and no one thinks about. Everyone's like, oh, the muscle hurts, or this joint hurts. Well, okay, there's a lot more than just muscles and joints in your body, right? There's
Mhm.
tendons and ligaments, and there's the fascia, which again, no one really talks about it. But it's that clear silver stuff, like when you're pulling apart a chicken, right? We have that
Mhm.
too. And that's like the network for the energy. And it gets trapped and you'll feel it. You'll feel it in physical ways, but it'll also come out in these like PTSD like symptoms. I realized I had a lot of these symptoms, and I was talking with one of my therapists and he's like, yeah, it's kind of like, or it wasn't directly from this list, but he said, yeah, there's signs of PTSD. So there's the physical side of things, which you can get pain like a muscle knot or something like that. But then there's also the mental side, right? Like negative thoughts, memory problems, emotionally numb, always being on guard for danger, right? Being always on, all that kind of stuff. So it can manifest, right? The trapped energy can manifest and will in various ways, both physical and mental, emotional. It was surprising for me because I didn't want to like accept that I had trauma, right? Because that's the thing. But I was reading this book, The Body Keeps the Score, which I don't know if you've heard about. It's very popular
Mhm.
it's like one of the Bibles of like trauma therapy, not therapy, but like research, I would say. And they have a lot of examples about animal testing back when animal testing was a thing. And you see some interesting scenarios that I related with. And so I wrote some of these down. There's this one scenario where they would have dogs in cages and they would shock the dogs in the cage. So the dog literally couldn't leave. And then if they opened the door, this is bullet number two. If they opened the door after doing that several times and basically traumatizing the dog wouldn't leave the cage even when the door was open, which is basically like learned helplessness, which humans experience too, right?
Mhm.
And it's kind of similar to bullet number three, which I related to as well, because my house was a little chaotic growing up, right? And animals that were raised in these chaotic homes, after some like loud event, like a threat, like some loud bang, they would still run back home when they're looking for a safe place, even though home isn't safe. So there's these patterns between, these animal um, experiments and stuff from this book. And there's, obviously some, people examples in the book too, and just us going about our daily lives. So a lot of things really line up. And so as far as like defining what trauma is, Dr. Gabor Maté has a really good quote that says, it's not what happens to us, it's what happens inside of us, which I thought was really good. So a couple examples, right? After I started learning this stuff, I was looking back at my events, like the trigger points for some of these things. And so his first girlfriend that I was dating before I transferred away to college, after I did, and she was like the first girl I ever like actually loved. When I did, she basically broke up with me and like hooked up with some other dude the next day, which basically felt like being cheated on. And I found out like literally 1 or 2 days later. And I remember I was like in my dorm room in bed, lying down, like literally frozen. I was like, I don't feel like I can move. Like I'm just feel completely crushed. And so it's that fight, flight, freeze, right? So that third state of freeze, like definitely happened to me. I didn't know what it was, but that's what it is, right? So that's when like all that energy is just kind of getting stored and getting stuck and we're kind of absorbing it all. And then when my dad was on his meds after his brain surgery. The meds made him crazy, and he was doing all this crazy stuff, and it was very stressful for me. My mom's not great at staying calm a lot of times either, right? So it's very high energy, kind of chaotic, very stressful. And so I onboard a lot of stress then too. And I physically felt it like down in my legs, right? I felt like they were always on edge and buzzing. I was like, I probably like needed or wanted to run because there was all that energy like in my calves and my legs. And dude, I felt that for a long time afterwards, at least probably a year or more after I was still feeling that buzz in my legs.
It's
Excuse me.
wild.
Yeah.